Exploration of Alice in Wonderland films. As a group, we decided to explore how our changing culture is reflected in film versions of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland.
Lewis Carroll's novel Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was originally written for a girl named Alice Liddell before being published in 1865. A shorter version, titled Alice's Adventures Underground, was given to the girl as a Christmas gift. Much of the reason why people liked the book was due to the translation of Grimm's German popular tales in 1824, which led to a rise in popularity of fairy tales and similar types of children's stories. Carroll parodies popular poems and songs in his story, such as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Against Idleness and Mischief, and Speak Gently, most of which we are unfamiliar with today.
The first ever Alice in Wonderland adaptation was made in 1903 by the British Film Institute. Originally 12 minutes long, only 8 minutes of original footage remain. With a limited amount of time for the film's length, the directors had to pick and choose what to include from the book, leading to many changes. While other silent films were made, it was not until 1931 that the first film to include sound was released. With sound, this was the first film to really be able to use parts of the original Carroll text and the wordplay it involves. Despite the numerous films that were created during this time, none of the films were extremely successful, and each strayed from Lewis Carroll's original text. Most of the changes could have come from the limitations of cinematography at the time, causing the directors to adapt the film based on these limitations. The first animated Alice in Wonderland film came in 1951 and was produced by Disney. The film featured many scenes from both of Carroll's books, though left many scenes out, as well as added new original scenes. Despite the film's iconic status in the 21st century, the film was not successful when it first came out. It didn't reach success until more than a decade later. With this information, many questions are brought up. Why was this? Why did the film not meet success until years after its release? Based on the time that Alice in Wonderland was released, the film was not what people wanted. People wanted a story with plots and morals. They wanted to see good overcome evil, all which Alice in Wonderland lacked. On top of this, many people felt that Alice herself was portrayed with little personality and was too hard to relate to. Another reason why Alice in Wonderland was not accepted was the fact that Tenniel's original designs were not used. These pictures had become nearly iconic at this point, and many were upset with the change in design. Despite the initial dislike, Alice in Wonderland finally met its success in the 1960s. With a trippy, surreal feel surrounding the film, many enjoyed watching the movie while on drugs. Disney initially tried to resist the connection between the two, but did begin to re-release the film in theaters, allowing them to finally make a profit with the film. While Disney's film did not match up to what people wanted in the 1950s, the psychedelic feel of the film matched the culture of the 1960s.
Oh, wow. Mommy or the doctor wouldn't have anything.
As our culture continues to mature, Alice also matures. This is especially evident in the year 2010 when Tim Burton's film Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was released. Although not considered a direct adaptation, we chose to include this film because of its popularity and the absence of certain characters. Two examples of these differences noted are the absence of the two kings, with the Red King's head actually in the river of heads Alice must walk across, and the violent portrayal of the army of cards compared to Tenniel's illustration. Another very interesting difference is the Jabberwocky's portrayal. Screenwriter Linda Wolverton transforms Carroll's nonsense poem Jabberwocky, which describes the jaws that bite, into an epic battle scene. Here's a clip. So, noting these differences, the question becomes, how did we get from Carroll's novel portraying a 7-year-old Alice to Burton's 19-year-old, and what does this reveal about our culture? To begin answering this question, we researched other popular films of the time. Two notable film series popular in the 2000s were the Underworld series and the Twilight series, both action-related films and starring female protagonists. Another telling fact discovered is that the film Avatar was released less than 3 months earlier, a groundbreaking film relying on computer-generated imagery, and now the highest-grossing film of all time. So far, our research clearly showed that from an industry standpoint, a female-led, action-related CGI film would be highly successful. But now we wanted to look closer at the specific differences between Burton's film and the novel, such as the violence of the movie and what this suggests about our culture. To understand the film's violence, we again researched films popular, but this time we looked up the top 5 films in the decade before Alice's release. Of the top 5, 75% were not only action films, but relatively violent ones, such as Pirates of the Caribbean and Spider-Man. So the question became, why is violence so popular, and what does this suggest? According to Dr. Jan Susina of the University of Illinois, Burton's Alice in Wonderland, with its increased sexuality and violence, is more reflective of contemporary culture than Carroll's novels. Susina's review is an interesting read, and raises the question if our culture could connect with a 7-year-old girl who has no real moral struggles. In our society, with an increase in riots and brutality, could we engage with a film that had none of this? Our research proved that the answer is no. But Burton's film also raised another cultural context with its focus and brand new plot lines surrounding the Red and White Queens. They are sisters, and while the White Queen is the heir chosen by their father, the Red Queen steals her crown. Alice must slay the Jabberwocky in order to restore the crown. Here is a clip of Helena Bonham Carter as the Red Queen. With this increased focus on the two queens and the absence of the two kings, we automatically thought of feminism, but needed facts to back us up. According to R. Claire Snyder, third-wave feminism began in 1992 and continues today. And according to Astrid Henry, who published her article in 2006, feminism is about the nature of identity. Henry's quote directly parallels a theme in Burton's film of finding the right Alice, whether or not Mia Wasikowska's Alice is the one.